Hello guys, welcome back. Now in this tutorial, we will continue our discussion on the Open API, and this time we want to see how we are going to define something in the Open API when we have to add a request body also. So some of the methods like post method or a put method or a patch method, usually they also have a body in their request. Now what we are going to see is how do you define the request body as well. So here, if you are defining a request body, usual first thing is you're also going to specify the method. So here you can see here the method that you are defining is a post method, and you provided small description saying it's user post a new artist. So if you have to add a new artist, this is how you're going to use it. So the post, the method type, and then the request body. So the request body, you have to define this tag here, request body, and you have to say that it's a required one, and you're saying required is equals to true. And what is the content? Then you're going to add a tag for the content, which is going to tell the content is of the type application/JSON. And you can see here there is some kind of indentation. So if you see here there is one space here, then the spacing is increased. So that means within this content tag you're telling that it's a application JSON, and then within the content you have something called as schema. Means you are adding an indentation here, means this schema is part of this content, right? And then you are defining the schema type. Okay, the type is object, and then in this particular schema type, one of the parameter that is a required one is a username. And then within your schema you have another thing called as property. So indentation is very, very important. If something belongs under that, you have to give a space and put it under that particular tag. So if you see here, this schema has type and also has some properties, and then schema is under this content. Okay, this content that we have created, the tag, the schema is under that content. And within the schema, you have two things. You're defining the type of the schema, and then you are defining the properties. Okay. And the particular request body that you're going to send 4 properties. One is the name of the artist under this tag. Then you have artist genre, albums recorded, and this. So this is where you are defining your request. And the response is going to have blank. We're not going to return anything. Automatically it's going to add a new artist to that server. This is how you're going to define a operation which takes in a request with a body. That is what we have looked into. The next thing you have is the path parameters. The path parameters can be used to isolate a specific component of the data that client is working with. For example, in this case, if you only want inside of the artist, give me that particular artist with this username. So let's say you have hundreds of artists that this particular call is going to return, but within that call you're saying you're adding a username also. So similar to what we did in this particular example, where we didn't add these as a query parameter, what we said was this is going to return you all the employees. But rather than getting all the employees, all you are saying is give me that particular employee with this ID. And this one only gave you that employee's information. And now if you see here employee HR data, what it has done, if you're not passing a particular ID, it is returning you all the different employees. So if you see here, it is returning you all that particular employee information. You have EN0027, all of that. So what we are doing is, as part of this, if you want a specific employee information, you are passing it as a path parameter itself. So this is how your schema will change. In the previous case, you were adding it as a parameter, as a query parameter. Now what we are doing is we are adding it within our call itself, in our get call itself. So if you see here, if you scroll down, your path has also been changed. Now your path contains the username itself. When you were adding it as a query parameter, your query parameter didn't have they were not added as part of your path. They were defined it in the request, right? In the parameter section. Now you are adding a path parameter, which is going to update your path in, so where you're adding a username as well. And then you are defining that there is a parameter, the name of the parameter is username, it is a required parameter, and the type is string. So this is how it will change when you are adding path parameters. So this is the complete spec. Now in the next tutorial, we are going to quickly look at the reusable components. What is the purpose of them? Now if you look at these Open API spec, there are a lot of places where you are retyping the same information again and again. Now rather than doing this, which has increased the size of your spec, you can create these reusable components, and that will also reduce the size of your spec, and it's easy to manage. You know that, okay, this is going to return you the same type which has been returned by this method also. So you don't have to redefine this thing again. You define them at one place and refer them in multiple places in your spec. So we'll talk about the reusable components in the next tutorial. I'm going to see you then. Thank you so much.